The board will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus, Alderwoman Flowers, Alderman Bosley, Alderman Moore, Alderwoman Hubbard, Alderwoman Ingracia, Alderwoman Young, Alderman Conway, Alderman Ortman, Alderman Vollmer, Alderman Villa, Alderman Arnowitz, Alderwoman Murphy, Alderwoman Howard, Alderwoman Green, Alderwoman Behringer, Alderman Rhodey, Alderman Kennedy, Alderwoman Davis, Alderman Schmid, Alderman French, Alderman Boyd, Alderman Vaccaro, Alderman Ogilvie, Alderman Cone, Alderman Williamson, Alderman Carter, Alderwoman Cruzen, President Reed,
Here.
Alderwoman Tyus, Alderwoman Flowers, Alderman Bosley, Alderwoman Hubbard, Alderwoman Young, Alderwoman Howard, Alderman Rhodey, Alderwoman Davis, Alderman French, Alderman Ogilvie, Alderman Cone, Alderman Williamson, Alderman Carter, Alderwoman Cruzen, 20 present.
A quorum being present, I'll ask everyone in the chambers and the galleries who's able to stand to please rise for prayer. Giving all honor to God, Almighty God, source of all authority, we humbly ask guidance in our deliberations and wisdom in our conclusions. Amen. You know, as is our tradition, we have the Rosati Kane Choir here with us today. So they normally help us kick off the holiday season. And they're going to sing a couple. How many are you going to sing? 2 or 3 or just one? All right, they're going to sing one for us.
The lights are way of love.
Let's give them one more round of applause. That was beautiful. Thank you. You know, they work on donations, so I know they were passing a basket around. If you can help to donate to their efforts so that they can continue, I think that would be phenomenal. We'll suspend with our regular order of business, take up our courtesy resolution calendar, move for adoption. Our courtesy resolution calendar takes seconded by the Alderman from the 22nd. Alderman Schmidt, would you, Alderman from 20th, like to approach the dais?
Good morning, everyone. First, I'd like we move for adoption of it. So I guess we should go ahead and read it. Is that fine, Mr. President? All right. We have a distinguished guest with us today, Mr. Bill Seedoff. He's had an extensive career in the private sector and at the state and local levels of government in service to children and families. And in 1967, he became known as the welfare man with the orange folders, serving families in the Pruitt-Igoe housing project to determine eligibility for what was then known as aid for families with dependent children. And ever since then, he's maintained a personal touch, spending nearly 51 nights visiting the City of St. Louis overflow shelter during last year's extremely cold weather, and personally checking on the welfare of homeless individuals in all sorts of weather. And since 2001, he's been in Mayor Slay's cabinet as the Director of Human Services, which includes Homeless Services, the Office on the Disabled, St. Louis Area Agency on Aging, Veterans Services, and Youth and Family Services, serving in that capacity for 13 years. He received a BS and MSW from Washington University right here in St. Louis, and he's a graduate of the program for senior executives in state and local government at the John F. Kennedy School in Harvard University. And by the way, he's a proud graduate of Cleveland High School. And whereas he began his career as a social worker for the Missouri Division of Social Services, then he became the St. Louis Area Director and finally statewide Director of the Missouri Division of Family Services from September 1986 to January 1988. Deputy Director of the Missouri Department of Social Services from January 1988 to March 1992, and interestingly enough, Director of the Missouri Motor Vehicles and Licensing from March 1992 to April 1993. He is a champion of the collaborative model known as the Continuum of Care for the Homeless. He serves on over 30 boards as a volunteer and commits many volunteer hours, often serving as a chair. He is well-grounded and an approachable person who has received innumerable accolades, so we're not going to list them all today, and recognition for his leadership in such areas as the Beach Project, which is rapid rehousing, and the prisoner reentry programs and caring for children, seniors, and veterans, most recently having a room named after him by the St. Louis Crisis Nursery in honor of all he has done for them. And it has come to our attention that William Seedoff, retired on November 26th of this year to spend more time with his lovely wife, Mary Ellen Cotsworth, and to continue all his volunteer service without the distractions of paid service. So, therefore, today, the Board of Aldermen pauses in our deliberations to thank Bill Seedoff for his many years of service to those in greatest need of help in our community. We wish him all good things in his retirement, and we further direct that the clerk spread a copy of this resolution across the minutes and to prepare a commemorative copy, which we have today, that it may be presented by all of us to him for his many years of service, and to thank him very much.
Hold on for a second, Bill. We got to get you some accolades. Then we'll let you.
I thought this be over now.
No, we're not going to let you get away that quick. Come on. Any discussion? Alderman from the 25th.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, Bill, I want to thank you for all of your years of service to the city. You've done a remarkable job facing, budgets that constantly get slashed, and poverty is one of the greatest equalizers in our society, and the city, obviously has limited resources in what we're able to do, but you've been able to stretch those resources and be able to provide really wonderful services to the best of our ability as a city. But I also, do a lot of work with the St. Louis Crisis Nursery, as you know, and I commend the work that you do with that organization. It's a fantastic organization, and I know you and I talked about you continuing on the board, and I'm grateful that you will still be there because they really appreciate the work that you do there as well. So thank you for all of the work that you do in the city, and I look forward to working with you in the future with St. Louis Crisis Nursery as well.
Thanks, all right, thank you. Alderman from the 3rd.
Mr. President, members of the board, I just can't remember when Bill Seedoff came here, but I've called him so many times and he's been so responsive and he's done so much. There are so many people I think know him personally in my ward because he has not been one that ran and hid from people. When you call him, he has no problem talking to people no matter how insignificant politically they are. And I just want to say, I'm going to miss you because I know I wore your years out over the years. And I'd like to see this in bank because I know I'm not the only alderman down here who has consistently called on Bill Seedoff when you had a problem. And this is one of them that don't mind when you have a constituent on the phone with you and he'll talk to them. Most people that are that high up in the anarchy of government don't want to be bothered with nobody, don't want to be bothered with us, but we handle his budget, and he has to come and see us whenever he wants something, and that's why he listens to us. But Bill is not like that. And I'd just like to congratulate you for what you've done over the years. And I just don't know who's going to replace you, but I hope you train somebody to walk in your footsteps. And I'd like to see this in bank.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 3rd and bank, seconded by the Alderman from the 20th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, please prepare another copy of the resolution in bank. Alderwoman from the 5th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I just wanted to stand up and say a few kind words about Mr. Seedoff. When I was newly elected and a rookie alderman, actually I still am, but he really reached out to me to address some of the issues of homelessness in the 5th Ward, and we talked and had some candid conversations about homelessness within the entire region. And I never knew the history of you and Pruitt-Igoe and all of the stuff that you had done over the years, but I just want to thank you for your service. And to echo with my colleague from the 3rd, we hope that you train somebody because we have a long way to go, and I just want to thank you for doing all you've done for the city.
Thanks to me.
Alderman from the 16th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I just want to make sure, I know we're going to lose you, Bill, and I very much appreciate you working for the city all these years, doing all the great things you do, but the best thing of all is that you have made such an impact with the nonprofits and working with the underserved here in the city of St. Louis. And I am holding you to what we agreed to, which you are not retiring. You're now going to be more active as a volunteer out in the nonprofit world. Yeah. So, Bill, thank you for all you do. I can't thank you enough.
Alderman from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Bill, I knew your name before I met you as I volunteered as a guardian ad litem. Your reputation with the folks who advocate for abused and neglected kids in St. Louis City is pristine. My first introduction to you was at a wedding reception, so before I knew what a hard worker you were, I knew how much fun you were. And then I came here, and in the short time we've shared together, it's been great to get to know you and see your dedication and all you've been able to do. So thank you so much for everything you've done for the city.
Alderman from the 12th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Bill, I just want to also thank you all the years that I've known you. You've done a great job with sharp money and budgets. You've made things work. You've been very helpful to the people in the city of St. Louis, and you've done a wonderful job. I just want to thank you and congratulate you.
Thanks.
Alderman from the 9th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. And you thought you were going to get out of here quick. You know, you stand here and listen to the comments now, and not only have you done a fantastic job and have the experience, but you've also got an office that doesn't get near the credit that they really deserve, and that's come from your leadership, you know, right back at you. And I know, you know, your office they're, like you told me, they're there and they'll still do a good job and continue to, no matter who replaces you or when that time comes. But I just appreciate everything that you've done, and you're not changing your cell phone, are you? Okay. And then I'll still see you at Cardinal games in the neighborhood, so, you know, you're not going far, you know, and kind of my outlook on it. But, you know, thanks for everything that you've done, and I hope both of you, you know, have a wonderful retirement.
Alderman from 22nd.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I certainly like to say congratulations to Bill. Thank you for all your service. Thank you for your outreach that you provided this city and this region to impact the homeless. Much kudos for what you have done for veterans. Being a veteran, I certainly appreciate everything that you've done, all the initiatives to support our veterans, our homeless veterans. I'm still inspired by having a Veterans Housing Solution Center somewhere in my ward. So I'll be calling you and hope you're working with the people back here to make sure that happens, because you got me very excited about it, and I really want to see that come to fruition. So thank you for all your leadership, and best wishes to you and your wife.
Alderman from the 8th.
Members of the board, Bill, we really will miss on a very different plane your services here. If you look at some of the things and the causes that he's had to address, they're not usually the most glamorous ones or draw people to support, like whether it's prisoner reentry or homeless housing or homeless services. Those don't necessarily draw the support, and historically the city's services, social network, and bringing all of those resources together that you did manage to do was never in place and was in a disarray. We had no way of handling the needs of those individuals, and over the past 7 or 8 years, you know, his efforts have continued to pay off. I know that when we had down at Vandeventer and Lafayette, we had some protesters come down and want to camp out. And he had a whole array of services that many of the people in the media did not know that we had available for homeless services and overnight stays. And so an incredible job. And most importantly, we finally got that information about what the city's doing out there to both the media and to the community. So thank you for your years of service.
Alderman from 11th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning. Mr. President, I think I go back to, with Mr. Seedoff probably in the middle 80s at the state of Missouri. I'm going to, we as a city are going to miss him dearly. I'm not into collaboration and transparency because I'm not sure what they mean. But on South Broadway, we have impact players and hitters. And Bill Seedoff is an impact player. Mr. President, I've never seen anybody any better at networking than Bill, and I mean that sincerely. At the Kennedy School of Government, where he probably belonged and I didn't, but the time we spent there, he clearly made contacts, kept those contacts alive, and Bill was a virtual clearinghouse for almost anything that you needed done in his particular realm. He has been a genuine credit to the city of St. Louis. We're going to miss him dearly. And Bill, you were the very best at what you did, and I mean that sincerely. It is tragic that just when the neckwear that you wear is slowly coming back into vogue, you're going to retire. Thank you, Mr. President.
Alderman from the 20th.
Mr. President, members of the board, I came down here because I wanted to say a few extra words that go beyond this resolution. And I recall when we were working on a special effort as a citywide project to create the St. Louis Family and Community Partnership. And clearly the person that we turned to was Bill Seedoff, along with some others in the mayor's office. But the other thing is that whenever we have something that's really traumatic, tragic, and there's not a whole lot of time to deal with the problem, and we sort of throw up our hands and we say, we really want to help this person. And we have a few resources, but we really don't know how to put those together. The person to call and the office to call was Bill Seedoff and his office, obviously. So I just want to thank you for those years of service and what you've done in those times of crisis when we needed, who are you going to call? Bill Seedoff.
Mm-hmm. Alderman from the 17th.
Yes, Mr. President, I wanted to rise too and congratulate Bill on a wonderful career before he came to the city. I was talking to him, he was up at the state, and I remember him from then. And I've had several occasions over the last few years to be with Bill in a place where we actually had a talk. We actually had a baseball game, and watching a baseball game, you have an opportunity to talk to somebody for a couple hours. And as somebody who certainly respects but is not very knowledgeable in so many of the human service programs and everything that's in that whole area of knowledge, and it was enlightening for me to spend time talking to Bill. And it's when you talk to somebody and you can almost pick up on the enthusiasm for what they do if they like it. And Bill had that level of enthusiasm. He was very, very passionate about what he did. And in the couple hours I had spent with him, and I was trying to get a little educated myself on what he did and the programs that he worked in, it was very, very clear to me that we were very, very fortunate to have someone who was as knowledgeable, compassionate, and committed to his field. And it was, it became very, very apparent to me after having spent an hour or two with him watching a baseball game, how fortunate we were at the city and how much we're going to miss Bill. So, Bill, thank you so much for your years of service. And after that, I always had great confidence in knowing that what we were doing in the city was really the best that we could do with the resources that we had to work with. Thank you. Thanks, Bill.
Alderwoman from the 7th.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure to have Bill as a constituent as well as someone to work with here at the city. And as the Alderman from the 5th and the Alderwoman from the 6th have noted, a lot of the homeless issues fall in our wards, and so we've dealt with Bill on a number of problems that have occurred through the years. Me more so than them because I'm much older, and been here longer. But the city has done an amazing job in the realm of homeless prevention and providing services over the years. And so I think that's a great tribute to you for all the work that you and the agencies that provide services have coordinated through the years. And I wish you well in retirement. And I'm very excited that you're retiring because you go around and pick up trash on the streets in Soulard, and so we'll have a much cleaner neighborhood. And you'll be so healthy for doing that. So thank you, and enjoy your retirement.
Alderwoman from 28th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Bill, I, too, rise to thank you for your many years of service with the city and with the state. And I wish you the very best in retirement. But I think the reason that you're so good at your job is that you're genuinely a nice guy. You empathize with the people that you are trying to help. And that comes from the heart, not from all of the training and education that you have. And so I genuinely think that's why you've been so great for our city, because you're a nice guy. Thanks.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Further discussion. Bill, I also would just like to say this. You know that this resolution is the highest honor this Board of Aldermen has to give any organization or individual. And what it does is it cements in time some of your many contributions up until this moment. So 100, 200 years from now, when you research the records of the city of St. Louis and they read about the renaissance of our city and the rebirth, they will read amongst those records the role that you played, and that we solidified that today by pausing our deliberations. So congratulations on your retirement. You indeed will be missed. You've done a phenomenal job. I know that, I've been friends with you forever. And I was telling Bill when he came up here, the only good thing about him retiring, that'll be one less person that's better dressed than most of us that won't be here at City Hall. He, Mike McMillan, and Greg Daly are three of the best dressed people in all of city government. But congratulations. Enjoy your retirement. I know your partner down there. We tried to get her up here a number of times. If we can drag her up here, that'd be great. Let's give Bill one big round of applause. Now you get to talk.
Now it's my turn. If you give me a microphone, I love to talk, as most people know. I think probably this is kind of overwhelming, actually, and it's probably overwhelming to Mary Ellen to know that she's married to me. Being that we're not married, but she reminds me 9 years we've been together. So anyway, this is Mary Ellen, my absolutely perfect lady. I want to thank everyone here for all those very nice comments. It really is kind of overwhelming to hear those things. And I know I have worked with so many of you. I want to thank all of you, Lewis and the rest of all the people. I feel very close to several people out here. My friend Bill over there, we grew up in the same neighborhood down in South City, and others that I've worked with very closely in so many different endeavors. And we really couldn't have accomplished what we did without the support of the staff that I had, that continues to be there, that are doing the job right now. And that's really the success you have is because of the people around you and the help that you get in being able to accomplish what you did. And I have to say I certainly want to thank Mayor Slade, too, the opportunity, the honor, really, of serving with him for 13 years. He made it possible to continue in this capacity for that long a period of time, and he was always supportive and so helpful in everything that we attempted to accomplish. And we did get some things done, but we got a long way to go, as has been mentioned. We got a lot of issues, particularly among homeless. We need to persevere, make sure that we do everything we can to help people find a better life, because there are many people that I got to know personally. It's an interesting endeavor when you're in this kind of work, because you do get to know people who, in many cases, are very sick and really need the help, as much help as you possibly can provide. It's been a wonderful career, but, every time I say how old I am, Mary Ellen gets a little excited. But I turned 73 in January, so I'm getting to be an old guy, and it's time to have some fun with Mary Ellen and travel. But I'm going to be around. I got a lot of boards I serve on. I'm going to continue in those capacities, and I got a couple other things I've already been approached about doing. I don't want to take on much because I already got a lot of things to continue. So thank you very much. This is really an honor. It's been a great pleasure to work in city government, state government as well, but I found city government actually a lot more interesting in many respects and for a lot of reasons. So thanks very much, and continue your good work on behalf of the city. We're in difficult times, as we all know, and it's, I think, an opportunity now to maybe address some things that we should have probably addressed, underlying currents that exist in our society. So thanks again for this honor. I will cherish this, and I'll always have good memories of all of you and all the people that I've worked with here in the city of St. Louis. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Thanks, Louis. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Alderman Frenay.
Morning, Mr. President, members of the board. I would rise and ask for unanimous consent on resolution number 176. Resolution?
Oh, you want to move?
And I would move that we do it in bank.
Okay. It's been moved that we make courtesy resolution number 176 in bank. It's been seconded by the Alderwoman from the 13th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, please prepare another copy of resolution 176 in bank.
So noted.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt our courtesy resolution calendar. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Alderman from the first.
I was told by the president that, I'm sorry, not the president, the attorney, regarding resolution number 180. Are we there yet? Are we still?
Please proceed. Please proceed.
Okay, because I just thought we just passed the resolution calendar.
we passed the resolution calendar, but if you had something quickly on resolution 180.
Well, I was going to ask for it to be in bank, and also I wanted to speak to it, Judge Calvin. And so if we already passed it, I think I'm kind of out of order, and so I would do a motion to reconsider resolution 180. That would work, I think.
It's been moved that we reconsider the previous vote. It's
right.
Been seconded by the Alderman from the 8th. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus.
Aye.
Alderwoman Flowers. Alderman Bosley. Alderman Moore. Alderwoman Hubbard. Alderwoman Ingracia. Alderwoman Young. Alderman Conway. I didn't hear you. Alderman Ortman. Alderman Vollmer. Alderman Villa. Alderman Arnowitz. Alderwoman Murphy. Alderwoman Howard. Alderwoman Green. Alderwoman Behringer. Alderman Rhodey. Alderman Kennedy. Alderwoman Davis. Alderman Schmidt. Alderman French. Alderman Boyd. Alderman Vaccaro. Alderman Ogilvie. Alderman Cone. Alderman Williamson. Alderman Carter. Alderwoman Cruzen. President Reed.
Aye.
Alderwoman Flowers. Alderwoman Howard. Alderwoman Davis. Alderman Schmidt. Alderman French. Alderman Boyd. Alderman Ogilvie. 24 aye votes.
A vote, sustain the motion. Alderman from the first.
Mr. President, members of the board. Sorry, Mr. President.
No, please proceed.
Okay, Mr. President, members of the board, I move to pass resolution number 180 in bank.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the first, seconded by the Alderman from the 23rd. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderwoman.
Mr. President, members of the board, it is with heavy heart that I speak to this resolution. Judge Michael Calvin was a friend of mine. He was my neighbor for many years on Maffett Place. And when I passed the bar back in '88, I got married at the time that they were having the swearing-in ceremony. And so I was on my honeymoon for a couple of weeks. And when I came back, he also swore me in. He was my mentor. It was when you have a judge live down the street from you and you're a new public defender, that's a great thing to have. I remember when his children were young, he and Vanessa, his first wife, they moved from the 5100 block of Maffett down to the 4900 block of Maffett. He told me great stories. On the bench, he was always one of the most fairest judges that I have ever run into. And I know I'm prejudiced because he was my neighbor and my friend. So when Saturday I got notice that he had died, and it was over the internet through Facebook actually, I thought it was a Facebook prank. I could not believe that because I had just seen Judge Calvin, I guess, in August, and we talk a long time whenever we see each other. So I went about trying to call, getting on the internet, looking, and I didn't see anything. And I said, oh, I want to believe this is not true. But the person who had posted it actually goes to All Saints Church, which is the church that he belongs to. And she is also an attorney that came from the neighborhood, went to Blessed Sacrament with my husband. So I knew that she would not post anything irresponsible like that. Just now, in speaking to the 3rd Ward Alderman, he didn't know that Judge Calvin had died. He was such a powerful presence on the board, and on the bench rather, and he was just so fair. And even in telling things that he did wrong, he made you feel better. when I was first moved on Maffitt Place, it was 1986. And Maffitt Place has a rule that you cannot wash cars on the street. And in our neighborhood, there are a lot of famous people that came from that neighborhood, including the Roberts, the Wayman Smith and Robin Smith, and a lot of people, Carl Grice. Most of the black people who live on Lindo came from our neighborhood. And so their older parents had very strict rules. And so the rules on Maffitt Place, Mr. and Mrs. Hunter, he was the first black police board commissioner. One of the first black aldermen, he and his wife lived there. He was a Republican. And so they were very strict about the rules. And so Judge Calvin tells me the story that when he and Vanessa moved to Maffitt Place, and he had got a Corvette, and so he went out there and he started washing it, and he was washing it on the street. And so the ladies on Maffitt Place came down and said, "What do you think you're doing?" And he said, "I'm washing my car. I got this Corvette." And they said, "On Maffitt Place, we do not wash cars. Who do you think you are? Don't let us have to tell you that again." And so he said how mad he was that they had spoken to him like that. But as he had lived on Maffitt Place for years, he grew to appreciate that they cared about their community and that they were willing to fight, even a judge. He thought that as a judge that they should have given him some respect, and they thought as a resident of Maffitt Place, you better respect our rules. And so he told me that as I became very active in Maffitt Place Improvement Association years, and he encouraged me to do that. And, you know, encouraged me when I got ready to get into politics. Many of the judges said to me, as a public defender, you can't run. Jack Garvey and I ran at the same time in '91 and got elected. And many of the judges said, "Oh, you have to be a circuit attorney. And you cannot win, and Jack's going to win because he's a circuit attorney, but public defenders don't become elected." And Judge Calvin said, we know who we're voting for. Just go on out there and do what you need to do. We got this, okay? So as a personal note, I loved Michael Calvin. 99% of the time we were on the same page, but sometimes we were not. But we disagreed without being disagreeable. And I'm just very, very sad to see this man, this great man, has passed away. And I wanted to be a co-sponsor of this, and I wanted to speak to his life, not just as a judge, but outside as a father, as a husband, as a friend, as a great person, and to say to his family how sorry I am, and to tell this board what a great man we lost. And he was only in his 60s, and I'm just heartbroken.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Any further discussion? Alderman from the 8th.
Good morning again, Mr. President. Every year I do an annual gathering with many of the judges here in the city. And last year I was shocked when Judge Calvin was there and he had retired. And I couldn't even comprehend. I mean, well, he's been down there for a long time. But he was a phenomenal guy. You know, he was probably 6'6" in the courtroom. But he physically was shorter than me. And I'm sorry, but he was an incredible individual, brilliant, just absolutely brilliant on the law. I mean, some of those judges over there get recognized for that. He was never really recognized for that, but I had the opportunity to see him in some cases over there, and great work and great outcomes too. And I think as the Alderwoman from the 1st had mentioned, that even if someone was wrong in the courtroom, he wasn't dismissive of anybody, winners or losers. He did a phenomenal job. His family needs to be proud of him. Those colleagues of his that served with him for many, many years have to be proud to have known him as I am. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? It's been moved and seconded that we adopt our courtesy resolution calendar. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. With that, we'll return to our regular order of business. Introduction line of guests. Any introductions of our guests? Alderman from the 22nd.
Mr. President, members of the board, I have 3 distinguished guests with me to honor this morning. Number 1 is Mr. Antoine Pope, who's a constituent of the 22nd Ward, and I have Chris Pickle and Leroy Grant with AT&T.
Alderman from the 27th.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I'd like to have as my honored guest a resident of the 27th Ward and my new intern, Ms. Kay Tesmore. Thanks.
Alderman from the 16th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I would like to have as my special guest today Anthony Lancia with AGC, and with the Carpenters District Council, Jeff Hunt, Mark Dalton, Keith Taylor, and Todd Hagee. Thank you.
Alderman from the 5th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I'd like to have as my honored guest Reverend Cleo Willis.
Alderman from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I'd like to have as my honored guest Tim Boyer, 6th Ward constituent, and he's also with the Circuit Attorney's Office.
Alderman from the 26th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I'd like to have as my honored guest today would be Mr. Leonard Jackson. He's the Deputy Chief of Staff at the Treasurer's Office and also the former Comptroller, Vervis Jones. Thank you.
Alderman from the 9th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I'd like to have for my honored guest today Maureen McDonald. I'll start out with ladies first this time, representing the St. Louis Realtors Association, and Officer David Rudolph, also Officer Ryan Lynch, and also Ronnie Howard.
Alderman from the 15th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. As my honored guest today, I'd like to welcome 15th Ward residents Torrey Park, Ellen Buteau, and Jack Buteau, and from the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters, Local 562, Mike Grady and Dick Kellett.
Alderman from the 8th.
Good morning again, Mr. President and members of the board. It's my great honor and pleasure to introduce Mr. Lawrence Johnson. He's the president of the Shaw Neighborhood Improvement Association. With much support from him and the Neighborhood Association, the Shaw neighborhood was a shining example on how to deal with adversity during these past months. But Mr. Lawrence Johnson.
Alderman from the 19th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I'd like to have as my honored guest today my youngest son, Vince Davis, is here. He's from the East Coast and has been a very accomplished representative from the city of St. Louis, and he does me well as a son. I welcome him today.
You're welcome. Alderman from the 27th.
Thanks again, Mr. President and members of the board. I see a few people that we forgot. One person, committeeman in the 6th Ward, Damon Jones, the Honorable Percy Green, I seen him in the crowd, and Jasmine Turnage. Thank you.
Any further introductions? Alderman from the 18th.
Yes, Mr. President and members of the board, I'd like to recognize as my honored guest here today Mr. Percy Green that's in the balcony, Jamala Rogers, John Chasnoff, Ronald Stamps, and I once saw my twin brother up there, Gary Kennedy. I'd like to have my special guest today.
All right, thank you. Any further introductions? We also have with us Mavis Thompson, our license collector. Let's give her a round of applause. Alderman from the 10th, like to wrap us up.
I would once again like to make my request that the Alderman from the 8th leave my microphone alone. I know it's an election year. He's trying to get around everywhere, but please leave my microphone alone. Thank you. As we gather here on December 5th, this is the day that the noble experiment of 13 years ended. And I'm not talking about Alderman Vaccaro's high school education. We're talking about Prohibition in 1933. America started drinking again, which leads us to the national holiday we have now, which is Bartender Appreciation Day. So all you folks having all these troubles, let's go out and appreciate our bartenders tonight and have a good time in the city of St. Louis. Thank you.
Can I ask the choral fellows to stand? Could you all stand? Let's give them a round of applause. And if you have an opportunity, go over and meet them today. Thank you so much for joining us today. And they're studying this part of government today. So if you have an opportunity, at least go over and say hi to them. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully you can stick around for the balance of the meeting. We'll try to get it over quick. Thank you. Alderman from the 17th, you recognize on approval of the minutes.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the minutes of the November 14th and 21st meetings.
Moved by the Alderman from the 17th, seconded by Alderman from the 25th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Report of city officials.
Report of city officials can be found in sections A, B, and C of the agenda and have been placed in all aldermen's mailboxes.
We dispense with line item 7. Would anyone like to take any bills off of any of our informal calendars? Would anyone like to take any bills off of any of our informal calendars? We dispense with line items 8 through 10. First reading board bills.
Board Bill 204, sponsored by Alderman Conway, and ordinance recommended and approved by the Airport Commission, the Comptroller, the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, making certain findings with respect to the transfer of up to $13,727,769 of excess monies that the city intends to transfer from the Debt Service Stabilization Fund to the Airport Revenue Fund, containing a severability clause and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 205, sponsored by Alderman Conway, and ordinance recommended and approved by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing and directing the Director of Airports and the Comptroller to enter into and execute the Lambert International Airport Wi-Fi and Distributed Antenna System Operating Agreement, AL-263, between the city and Concourse Communications Group for the installation, operation, marketing, maintenance, and management of a wireless internet access and distributed antenna system at the airport, containing a severability clause and an emergency clause. Board Bill 206, sponsored by Alderman Conway, and ordinance recommended and approved by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing and directing the Director of Airports and the Comptroller to enter into and execute the Lambert International Airport Lease Agreement, AL-161, between the city, owner and operator of the airport, and Union Electric Company, doing business as Ameren, Missouri, granting to the lessee certain rights and privileges in connection with the occupancy and use of leased premises for a period of 10 years, containing a severability clause and an emergency clause. Board Bill 207, sponsored by Alderman Conway, and ordinance pertaining to the firing or discharging of a projectile weapon, containing a definition, regulations, and a penalty clause. Board Bill 208, sponsored by Alderman Kennedy, President Reed, Alderwoman Davis, Alderman Williamson, Alderman Carter, Alderwoman Hubbard, Alderman Moore, Alderman Bosley, Alderwoman Flowers, Alderwoman Young, Alderwoman Ingracia, Mayor Slade, Alderwoman Cruzen, Alderman Conway, Alderwoman Green, and Alderman Conan, ordinance establishing a civilian oversight board and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 209, sponsored by Alderwoman Young, and ordinance approving addendum number 6 to the development plan of Laclede's Landing Redevelopment Corporation, amending the development plan approved by ordinance 57085 to clarify and restate the term of development plan, authorizing the mayor and the comptroller to enter into an amendment to the redevelopment agreement with Laclede's Landing Redevelopment Corporation, and containing a severability clause and an emergency clause. Board Bill 210, sponsored by Alderwoman Green, and ordinance amending ordinance 69758 by modifying the terms of real estate tax abatement for 3637 North Utah Place redevelopment area. Board Bill 211, sponsored by Alderwoman Ingracia, and ordinance approving a blighting study and a redevelopment plan for 2329 through 51 Market Street, and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 212, sponsored by Alderman Conway, and ordinance approving a blighting study and a redevelopment plan for 4056 Russell, and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 213, sponsored by Alderman Ortman, and ordinance approving a redevelopment plan for 2112 Sydney. Board Bill 214, sponsored by Alderman Ogilvie, and ordinance repealing ordinance 68943 and enacting a new ordinance confirming the prohibition of the issuance of any package or liquor license for any premises within the boundaries of the 24th Ward Liquor Control District, and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 215, sponsored by Alderman Kennedy, and ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing and directing the St. Louis Municipal Finance Corporation to issue and sell as Forest Park leasehold revenue refunding bonds, Series 2015, in the aggregate principal amount not to exceed $11 million, in order to refund all or a portion of its outstanding leasehold revenue refunding bonds, and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 216, sponsored by Alderman Kennedy, and ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, pertaining to and providing for the issuance of obligations payable under the annually renewable lease agreement, authorizing and directing and directing the execution and delivery in one or more series of lease certificates of participation obligations of the city, evidencing interest in the right to receive rentals to be made by the city pursuant to an annually renewable lease agreement in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $5,500,000 in order to refinance and refund all or a portion of St. Louis Municipal Finance Corporation's lease certificates of participation series 2008 outstanding in a principal amount of $5,455,000 containing a severability clause. That's the extent of our first reading.
Reference to committee.
To the Transportation and Commerce Committee, Board Bills 204, 205, and 206. To the Public Safety Committee, Board Bills 207, 208, and 214. To the Housing Committee, Board Bills 209, 210, and 211. To the Neighborhood Development Committee, Board Bills 212 and 213. And to the Ways and Means Committee, Board Bills 215 and 216, that's the extent of reference to committee.
Second reading.
Following board bills were reported out of the Neighborhood Development Committee, Board Bill 153, sponsored by Alderwoman Ingracia, and ordinance approving a blighting study and a redevelopment plan for 2804 through 08 and 2814 through 20 South Compton, 3151 through 53 Halliday, 3152 Magnolia, containing a severability clause. Board Bill 154, sponsored by Alderman Ortman, and ordinance approving a blighting study and redevelopment plan for 2925 Lemp, containing a severability clause. Board Bill 155, sponsored by Alderman Ortman, and ordinance approving a blighting study and a redevelopment plan for 3453 Wisconsin, containing a severability clause. Board Bill 156, sponsored by Alderman Balmer, and ordinance approving a blighting study and a redevelopment plan for 2615 January, containing a severability clause. Board Bill 157, sponsored by Alderman Bosley, and ordinance approving an amended blighting study and a redevelopment plan for amended Hyde Park Scattered Sites 5 redevelopment area and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 159, sponsored by Alderwoman Davis, and ordinance approving a redevelopment plan for 3828 through 30 Folsom and 3826 through 32 McReed. Board Bill 180, sponsored by Alderwoman Cruzen, and ordinance approving a redevelopment plan for 6828 Oakland. Board Bill 181, sponsored by Alderman Conway, and ordinance approving a redevelopment plan for 4108 through 10 Councilman. Board Bill 182, sponsored by Alderman Conway, and ordinance approving a redevelopment plan for 4957 through 63 Arsenal. Board Bill 184, sponsored by Alderman Balmer, and ordinance approving a blighting study and a redevelopment plan for 1918 Edwards and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 185, sponsored by Alderman Ortman, and ordinance approving a redevelopment plan for 2106 Wyoming. Board Bill 190, sponsored by Alderwoman Young, and ordinance approving a blighting study and a redevelopment plan for 2021 Rutger and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 199, sponsored by Alderman Conway, and ordinance approving a redevelopment plan for 3838 Flora Place. That's the extent of our second reading.
Dispense with line item 14. Perfection consent calendar.
Board Bill 197, committee substitute, sponsored by Alderman Kennedy, President Reed, Alderman Williamson, and Alderman Moore, and ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing the city to establish a green community program for the purpose of making low-interest loans for residential energy efficiency projects and public building energy conservation projects, and to issue and sell in one or more of the series its qualified energy conservation bonds, Series 2014, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $3,900,000 and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 195, sponsored by Alderwoman Young, Alderman Balmer, Alderwoman Davis, Alderwoman Hubbard, and Alderwoman Murphy, and ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing and directing the St. Louis Municipal Finance Corporation to issue and sell its leasehold revenue refunding bonds in order to refund all or a portion of its outstanding refunded bonds and its leasehold revenue improvement bonds to fund the construction, repair, improvement, and renovation of Cervantes Convention Center in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $25 million and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 158, sponsored by Alderwoman Young, and ordinance approving redevelopment plan for 1011 Olive. Board Bill 162, sponsored by Alderwoman Ingracia, and ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission to change the zoning of property from C, multiple family dwelling district, to the B, two family dwelling district for property on Magnolia and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 163, sponsored by Alderman Vollmer, and ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission to change the zoning of property from A, single family dwelling district, to the F, neighborhood commercial district in City Block 4074 for property on Bischoff and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 172, sponsored by Alderwoman Davis, and ordinance amending ordinance 68874 pertaining to the issuance and delivery of tax increment revenue notes for the Grand Center redevelopment project, authorizing a 6th supplemental trust indenture and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 173, committee substitute, sponsored by Alderman Rhodey, and ordinance dissolving a special allocation funds for Automobile Road redevelopment project area 1, terminating the designation of those portions of the city as redevelopment areas. Board Bill 176, sponsored by Alderwoman Green, and ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing the city to assign TIF revenues and municipal revenues attributable to Southtown redevelopment area for the purpose of paying the principal of and interest on certain bonds to be issued by the Industrial Development Authority of the city. Board Bill 179, sponsored by Alderman Rhodey, and ordinance determining that the tax increment financing plans listed in Exhibit 1 or Exhibit A are making satisfactory progress under the proposed time schedule for completion of projects therein. Board Bill 183, sponsored by Alderwoman Davis, and ordinance approving a blighting study and a redevelopment plan for 1349 North Garrison and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 194, sponsored by Alderman Rhodey, and ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing the execution of a third amendment to the redevelopment agreement between the city and St. Louis Innovation District, establishing the SSTIF account of St. Louis Innovation District Special Allocation Fund and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 196, sponsored by Alderman Schmidt, Alderman Moore, Alderwoman Young, Alderman Ortman, Alderman Ornowitz, Alderwoman Howard, Alderwoman Green, Alderwoman Behringer, Alderwoman Davis, Alderman Vaccaro, Alderman Williamson, Alderman Vollmer, Alderwoman Flowers, President Reed, and Alderwoman Murphy, and ordinance recommended and approved by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing the mayor to apply for funding under the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, the Office of Healthy Homes and Lead Hazard Control, being offered pursuant to a federal fiscal year 2014 notice of funding available for the Lead Hazard Reduction Demonstration Grant Program, authorizing the mayor and the comptroller to enter into and execute agreements with HUD for the receipt of fiscal year 2014 lead hazard reduction demonstration, appropriating the sum of a maximum federal obligation of $2,500,000 and containing an emergency clause. That's the extent of perfection consent.
Alderman from the 17th, you recognize on the motion for the perfection consent calendar.
Yes, Mr. President, I move that we approve the perfection consent calendar.
Moved by the Alderman from the 17th. Entertain a second on that motion. Seconded by the Alderman from the 27th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Board bills for perfection.
Board Bill 177, sponsored by Alderman Conway, and ordinance recommended and approved by the Airport Commission, the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing a ninth supplemental appropriation in the total amount of $2,089,440.64 from the Airport Construction Fund subaccount for the 2009 Series A1 bond issue into the airport schedule FCIP project for the payment of costs for work and services authorized therein and containing an emergency clause.
Alderman from the 8th, you recognize on the perfection of Board Bill number 177.
Mr. President, I move for perfection of Board Bill number 177.
Moved by the Alderman from the 8th, seconded by the Alderman from the 9th. Please proceed, Alderman.
I renew my motion.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? It's been moved and seconded that we perfect Board Bill number 177. Is there a request for roll call? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Board Bill 178, sponsored by Alderman Conway, and ordinance recommended and approved by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing and directing the Director of Airports and the Comptroller to enter into and execute the First Amendment to the vending concession agreement to the Airport Vending Concession Agreement number AL245 between the City and Advent Co., containing a severability clause and containing an emergency clause.
Alderman from the 8th, you recognize on the perfection of Board Bill number 178.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move for perfection of Board Bill number 178.
Moved by the Alderman from the 8th, seconded by the Alderman from the 9th. Alderman from the 8th, please proceed.
I have nothing to say at this moment.
Any further discussion? Alderman from the 1st.
Mr. President, members of the board, the Alderman from the 8th would yield.
Alderman from the 8th, will you yield for question to the Alderman from the 1st?
Yes.
Alderman from the 1st, please proceed.
Alderman, I was not there for this meeting because I was ill, but I want to know because exactly why are we amending this contract? And so I'm looking in here and it says the contract years 1 through 5 and minimum annual guarantee. Did we get more money? Did we get less money? Can you tell me a little bit about this?
What has happened, this company has the contract for the vending machines in the airport.
Yes.
And since we put the new stores in there that sell the peanuts and the bubble gum and the candy bars and the what have you, that has been so successful, their business has dropped off dramatically out of the vending machines. So the Airport Commission decided to move forward to lower that minimum guarantee. The new minimum guarantee, to put it in perspective, that when you buy a bottle of water or a soda out of that soda machine at the airport, the city gets almost 54% of that $2 or $3. Mm-hmm. And so that was the change to keep this contractor in there.
So they have a lower minimum amount that they have to give us now.
That is correct. So hopefully they can expand the volume of activity they're doing. We make up the money on the opposite side because the vendors that we put in that sell the other products, that's taken away a significant amount of that business.
Okay, and this is not you, but this is interesting because I had a minority company that's doing vending out at the Board of Aldermen, at the airport, and they had sought to have their contract amended, and I was told by the people who come before us that they would not be amending contracts down to get less money. That was too bad for them. And so now here I see this happening, and I'm really irritated that I wasn't at the meeting, that I was ill, and I will be asking for them to come and explain why they told the minority people that they couldn't have their contract adjusted, and that they weren't going to adjust, because I spoke to this person at a long time asking them about what did we do since the airport was not making the same kind of money, and that people were losing money, and that when they went into these deals that was an assumption that we were the airport that we were. And so it's not you, Alderman, but the people at the airport gave me misleading information about that they would not be amending any of these contracts. So it seems like they got their little favorites that they will be doing that for. So I will not be supporting it for this reason, and also as long as you direct elected officials in any kind of legislation that I see, I will. I'm not direct, but direct rather than authorized. I will not be supporting it. But it's really interesting to me, and I just want to put this on the record, that I was told by the people, not the commissioners, but the people who come before us, that they would not be amending it, that was too bad, that these people had entered into a contract, and therefore they had to deal with it. So now that I know that they will amend it, I will be looking for them to amend the minority contractors' contracts. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Alderman from the 8th, you recognize to close. Alderman from 27, do you have something?
Yes, I guess no. I just wanted to clear the record because Alderwoman Tyus, I think that the company that you were talking about, that was the company that came, because they were one of the only minorities that we have out there doing vending. It's and I don't think that I could say the name, but they were the ones who were asking to get their contract changed.
Okay. You guys need to address me.
Okay,
just talk to me and she'll. Yeah.
Okay. Well, no, and that was it.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? Alderman from the 1st.
Mr. President, just to answer the Alderman from the 27th, I don't care if it is another minority. What I care is about fairness, okay? If it was two majority companies and we were doing it for one and not the other one, I still would be up here saying the same thing. I'm talking about fairness, okay? If we can do it for one, then we ought to be able to look at others and understand that they are in a different situation also. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman from the 8th, you're recognized to close.
Right, Mr. President, members of the board. This is a minority contractor at the airport. I wanted to make sure because it didn't come out that way from the Alderwoman in the 1st. They've done a phenomenal job. I actually was there when they testified. Being a CPA and a lawyer, I guarantee you I asked the questions at the committee meeting to make sure that I was comfortable that this was a necessity because of the change in conditions and the people who are moving away from the vending machines. I am open. It is something that is highly unusual, but they came and they made their case, and the commission, the airport commission, voted unanimously for it. And obviously it was a majority company that I know that members in the gallery thought maybe it was, but I appreciate the Alderman from the 27th clearing that up for everybody.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we adopt, that we perfect Board Bill number 178. It's been a request. Is there a request for roll call? There's been a request for roll call. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus, Alderwoman Flowers, Alderman Bosley, Alderman Moore, Alderwoman Hubbard, Alderwoman Ingracia, Alderwoman Young, Alderman Conway, Alderman Ortman, Alderman Vollmer, Alderman Villa, Alderman Arnowitz, Alderwoman Murphy, Alderwoman Howard, Alderwoman Green, Alderwoman Behringer, Alderman Rhodey, Alderman Kennedy, Alderwoman Davis, Alderman Schmid, Alderman French, Alderman Boyd, Alderman Vaccaro, Alderman Ogilvie, Alderman Cone, Alderman Williamson, Alderman Carter, Alderwoman Cruzen, President Reed,
Aye.
Alderwoman Flowers, Alderman Moore, Alderwoman Howard, Alderman Kennedy, Alderman French, Alderman Ogilvie, Alderman Carter, 21 aye votes, 2 no votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion of the Alderman from the 8th and perfected Board Bill number 178.
That's the extent of board bills for perfection.
Any further? We will dispense with line items 17 through 19. First reading of resolutions.
Resolution 170, sponsored by Alderwoman Cruzen. The Board of Aldermen approves the budget for the 2015 Westminster Lake Special Business District.
Alderman from the 28th, you recognize on the first reading resolution number 170.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move for unanimous consent for Resolution 170.
Hearing no objection, Alderwoman, please proceed.
Thank you. I move for adoption of Resolution 170.
Moved by the Alderman from the 28th, seconded by the Alderman from the 9th. Alderwoman, please proceed.
Thank you. Resolution 170 is for the adoption of the 2015 Westminster Lake Special Business District budget. I would renew my motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution number 170. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 171, sponsored by Alderwoman Cruzen. The Board of Aldermen approves the budget for the 2015 Central West and North Special Business District.
Alderman from 28th, you recognize on the first reading of resolution number 171.
Thank you. I move for unanimous consent.
Hearing no objection, please proceed.
I move for the adoption of Resolution 171.
Moved by the Alderman from the 28th, seconded by the Alderman from the 9th and the 10th. Alderman, please proceed.
Thank you. I move for the adoption of Resolution 171 for the Central West End North Special Business District budget.
Yeah,
I already did that.
Yeah, you just discussion now.
So, on discussion, I hope that we can pass Resolution 171 to adopt the 2015 Central West End North Special Business District budget.
All right, excellent. Any further discussion? It's been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution number 171. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 172, sponsored by Alderwoman Cruz, and the Board of Aldermen approves the budget for the 2015 Washington Place Special Business District.
Alderwoman from 28th, you recognize on the first reading of resolution number 172.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent.
Hearing no objection, please proceed, Alderwoman.
I move for adoption of Resolution 172.
Moved by the Alderman from the 28th, seconded by the Alderman from the 25th. Alderman, please proceed.
Thank you. Resolution 172 adopts the budget for 2015 for the Washington Place Special Business District.
Any further discussion? It's been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution number 172. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Resolution 173, sponsored by Alderwoman Cruzen. The Board of Aldermen approves the budget for the 2015 Cathedral Square Special Business District.
Alderman from 28th, you recognize on the first reading of resolution number 173.
Thank you, Mr. President. I request unanimous consent.
Hearing no objection, Alderwoman, please proceed.
I move for the adoption of Resolution 173.
Moved by the Alderman from the 28th, seconded by the Alderman from the 16th and the 9th.
Thank you. Resolution 173 adopts the 2015 budget for the Cathedral Square Special Business District.
It's been moved. Any further discussion? It's been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution number 173. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That's the extent of first reading of resolutions.
Alderman from the 11th, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'd like to inquire the chair, please.
Please proceed.
Mr. President, I noticed on the first reading in today's agenda on Board Bill 208 that Mayor Slay is listed as a co-sponsor on that. I don't know that that is unprecedented or not. I don't remember the mayor, us using the mayor's name in terms of sponsoring legislation. Clearly, he brings us legislation, but the issue here, I think, is pursuant to the charter, he shall have a seat and a voice and may introduce ordinances but not vote. I think it would be in our best interest, Mr. President, and this is only a suggestion, to have our Committee on Personnel and Administration come up with a guideline as to whether or not in the future we're going to adhere to, letting the mayor put his name on ordinances. And my concern is, having got once again, a D in fundamentals of American government, there are three branches here: the legislative branch, the executive branch, and I guess I think it's wrong just because I haven't seen it. That doesn't mean I'm right. But I think as I look around, there's some seasoned veterans here. I just don't remember us listing the mayor's name on a proposed ordinance. And so you're the boss, but this is something that we traditionally don't do. That doesn't mean it's wrong, but I think we probably should establish guidelines as to how we deal with that.
Right.
Because it's conceivable that he's going to be citing into law or vetoing a bill with his name on it. I think it gets a little sticky.
Yes. Thank you, Alderman, and I will take it under advisement, and we will bring it to committee.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Alderman from the first.
Mr. President, members of the board, I'd like to speak to what the Alderman from the 11th said, because when I saw that, I saw orange too, okay? I do know it's legal because, as the Alderman has just read, the mayor can introduce bills. But In the 20-some-odd years that I've dealt with the Board of Aldermen, this is the first time I ever saw it, too. So I kind of agree with the Alderman, even though our rules allow it, that I would not like to see the mayor sponsoring bills over here unless we're going to all march over to room 200 and decide which bills we're going to sign into law or not, okay? During my forced retirement and when I became a committee person, that was really good for me because I got to see the eyes through the eyes of a committee person, which I had never been. And so I tell aldermen down here all the time that if you don't get along with your committee persons because you're out there endorsing. And so if everybody kind of stays in their own lane a little bit, it makes it much better to get along, okay? So, and me being a person of a legal background, it is very unsettling for me to see the mayor's name on a bill.
Yes. All right, thank you. Thank you. Any further discussion before we move on? Any further discussion? Thank you. And as Alderman from the 11th understand, I will take it on advisement and we'll take it to committee and discuss it. We'll dispense with line items 22, miscellaneous unfinished business.
We have none.
Announcements.
Tuesday, Ways and Means Committee meeting at 9 a.m. in the Kennedy Room. On Wednesday, a housing meeting at 8:30 in the Kennedy Room. Friday, December the 12th, full board meeting, 10 a.m. in the chambers. That's the extent of my announcement.
All right. Alderman from the 9th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Also, Saturday and Sunday, Cherokee Antique Row Cookie Spree. And it's from 11 to 5, and it's the 31st annual Cookie Spree. So come on down and have some cookies and, you know, buy some antiques.
There's some great cookies, too. You got to get down there and have some. The Alderman from 3rd.
Mr. President, members of the board, on 12/12, that's this coming Friday, the 3rd Ward is going to be giving away somewhere in the neighborhood of 60, 70 brand new bicycles like we do every year. And I would invite all of the alderpersons to come out because most people think politicians only run their mouths and don't do anything. So I'd like for you to come to Clay School and give a kid a bicycle. Take a picture giving them a brand new bicycle, which means this is a bicycle that they will have from now on. They remember you gave it to them. This is a bicycle that nobody can accuse them of stealing or taking that where it didn't belong to them. So each and every member of this board is invited to come out to Clay School next Friday, where we give away these bicycles and take a picture and hang it up in your office so you can see that there was something that you did positive for the children in the inner city. So I'm inviting everybody to come out. But now those people who hear me on television, if you don't live in the 3rd Ward, don't come down here. And if you do live in the 3rd Ward, you got to have your voter registration card. And the first 200 children that show up, those are the ones that are going to be admitted. But always, children, if you're listening to this, bring your parents with you and have that voter registration card.
Yeah, and that is a great program. Like Bosley's told me years in the past, can you imagine being an adult and getting a free car for Christmas? That's what it's like for these kids. When they get that free bike, they light up like crazy. So thanks for all the years that you've done that, Alderman.
Yeah, but more importantly, I'm inviting all of the alderpersons that would like to come down, take a picture, giving a kid a brand new bicycle. So many of these kids, I shouldn't say that, but I am. The only way they're going to get a new bicycle is they have to take it from somebody. But this way they get a brand new bicycle and there's nobody chasing them, and you will be the one that gave it to them.
All right, thank you, Alderman from 10th.
Thank you, Mr. President. If you're not registered to vote, the Alderman from the 3rd will register you to vote at the location and only charge you $5.95 for the photo opportunity. All right. Tomorrow is December 6th. It's Christmas on the Hill. If you don't know where the Hill is, it's the Italian neighborhood there in Midtown St. Louis. All day long on Saturday, they'll have carriage rides. They'll have free markets They will have a free concert culminating at 7 p.m. with Catherine Favaza and the Rosetta Kane voices you heard earlier here today. That was just a little tease of what they'll be doing tomorrow night. So please come to the Hill and have a good time. It will not rain tomorrow. The President has guaranteed me.
Here, Alderman from the 7th.
It's the holiday season, so there's lots going on. In Soulard tomorrow, there'll be the parlor tour, both tomorrow and Sunday. So if you'd like to see a beautiful historic neighborhood, come by there. If you miss that, then next Sunday, you can go to the Lafayette Square house tour. Both those neighborhoods will be welcoming people, and you can look online if you'd like to get tickets. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Alderman from 28th. Alderman from the 15th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Tomorrow, the Grinch will be coming to South Grand, both at Mokabee's Coffee House and Tower Grove Creamery from 9 until 1. For $7, kids can get their picture taken with the Grinch, have a pancake breakfast, and proceeds benefit Shriners Hospital. I encourage people to stick around afterwards and shop and dine on South Grand. As many of you know, many of our businesses were damaged last week due to some vandals, and because of that, we've seen some decrease in the amount of people that are shopping on South Grand in a time that is typically one of our most busiest times of year. So I really encourage people to go see the Grinch, stop by, and frequent those businesses on South Grand and check out some of the amazing artwork that's down there as well.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Alderman from 28th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Two things going on in the 28th Ward tomorrow that I think you might want to attend. One, the first that begins at 11 in the morning, is the Skinker de Bolivar Winter Market. This is a market right at the corner of De Pere and Kingsbury with lots of handmade arts, crafts, artwork. Honey is usually there a lot. It's a really good place for you to do a little bit of your Christmas shopping. And then at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon on Maryland in the Central West End is the Central West End Window Walk with the tree lighting at 5 o'clock. The Ambassadors of Harmony will be singing there, and there'll be lots of festivities. So I encourage you to join us for both of those. And I just want to second the comments from the Alderwoman from the 15th, which is that last Saturday was Shop Local, but I think we all need to keep in mind this entire holiday season to shop all of our neighborhoods. Of course, South Grand, of course, Cherokee, the Central West End, the Loop. I'm personally vowing to try to do most of my shopping in the neighborhoods, and I hope that all of you will too. Not just your shopping, but your dining and your
spend some money.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman from the 8th.
Good morning again, Mr. President. We'll have a Transportation and Commerce Committee meeting Tuesday at 9:30. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman from the 19th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I'd like to give information and invite those who are available and would like to support on this coming Thursday from 5:30 to 7:30, the Urban League Guild of Metropolitan St. Louis will have a gift drive for Head Start children. And it's hosted at the Missouri Botanical Garden at 4500 Shaw. As you know, we've had a lot of need already that existed, and it's been quadrupled by circumstances. And so we want to make sure that as many children as possible have a reason to smile and be happy. So we're going out of our way to make sure that we do even more. Also, this coming Saturday, December 13th, from 3 to 6 p.m. at Vashon High School, there will be an annual holiday bazaar. At this bazaar, it gives the opportunity for small business and independent business people to display their wares, and it's an opportunity for you to come and do some Christmas shopping. And it's really unique. You find very artful things that you can buy, and the regular, other accessories, jewelry, colognes, all kinds of things. But I found a way to really do almost all my Christmas shopping last year with them, and you'll find a varied people from all around our region. Also at that event, we're going to make sure kids are happy. We're going to have some celebrity appearances, refreshments, and entertainment. So again, that's this Thursday at the Botanical Garden, 5:30 to 7:30, and this Saturday at Vashon High School from 3 to 6 p.m. And remember, You talk about the 100 neediest cases every year. Well, this year, the people who are responsible for that, it is already over 780 cases that we're trying to service. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alderwoman. Alderman from 20th.
Mr. President, members of the board, in that spirit, I want to make sure that everyone knows that Cherokee Street, as you well know, Mr. President, has two sides. East of Jefferson, which is the Antique Grove side. West of Jefferson, they're going to have some special events. For the first time, we'll have to see how this works, Mr. President. They're going to have what's called Krampusnacht, which is sort of the reverse of St. Nicholas. St. Nicholas brings good presents and good things to those who have been very good, and for the rest of us, Krampus brings us what we deserve. So, beginning at 5:30, you'll have some opportunities to see that, but even during the day, I would encourage you to come over on Cherokee Street and see what it has to offer. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Any further?
Saturday.
All right, thank you. Any further announcements? Alderwoman from the 1st.
Mr. President, members of the board, I have, as a member of BAR, I have waited till the events that have been going on in our city and other places, not to say anything on this board about what has happened, but I would be remiss without now saying how sad I am about the outcomes of the various grand juries in the last week or so. I'm very saddened. I was a juvenile attorney when I started at the Public Defender's Office, and back in the 80s. And there's an article back in the 80s where I talked to people. I had an interview with the Post-Dispatch saying how people didn't understand and that we needed to do something about juvenile law. If a kid would get in trouble, if we didn't have any place to put them, we would then certify them as an adult and put them in the adult courts with no help at all. And so we were really kind of throwing children away. And I said that back then. Saying all of that, a lot of our kids are not juveniles. They are productive young kids. And so to see the outcome of the grand juries and then to watch on television, not just me, but professional prosecutors take these actions apart, not anybody who has anything to do with it, it saddens me so much. And it makes me know that when I talk to young people and they say they don't seem to care about our lives, I want them to know black lives matter to me. I want to further go on and say that I heard controversy from the St. Louis police officers, and so I've told you all this before because I don't share my family's lives too much because they didn't run for office. But I got a lot of military, a lot of police. I grew up half a block from the police station, grew up playing with the kids who are still my friends, white police officers, because in Decatur we only got black police officers maybe since I've left, but of course I've been gone a while, but we only had one black police officer, but I grew up in an integrated community, so didn't get all of this segregation till I came to Missouri. So I didn't grow up like that. And so when I hear this controversy about hands up, don't shoot, and the White Police Officers Association are upset about it, I want you to know, I don't know what anybody thinks is wrong with this because I've talked to all of my people who are in the military. I've talked to everybody else who I know. And guess what? Hands up means I'm no longer fighting you. I am not resisting arrest. And it means don't shoot. Hands up, don't shoot. That's what it means. And I don't see how anybody would be opposed to that. You can talk about the facts of what happened or whatever, but hands up, I'm hoping that this is universal. And in case you don't know it, St. Louis Police Officers Association, the whole world is watching you. It is not St. Louis. It is the entire world. Yesterday I got to see the mayor of New York approach this problem. And what I loved about that is the mayor of New York, who is Caucasian, people, guess what? His son is black and his wife is black. So he had a whole different ideal about what should happen, okay? The first thing he said is we're going to retrain the police. That's what I've been trying to get our police chief to understand. I would add that when these shootings go on, that we need to start firing the police chiefs. When we have these murders, we need to start firing the police chiefs. If we start doing that, they will stop doing it. So I want you to know, I'm in support of the white mayor in New York because he said the right thing. Because he talked about he's got a biracial son, but in the black community, when you got a drop, we didn't do this. This was done a long time ago. You became black. So therefore, my grandfather, who was half white and half black, was called black. Okay, and it wasn't because black people did that. But the mayor of New York said he and his wife had to sit down and talk to his son about how he has to act. Okay, so he gets it. And the more that we have people who get it, we had a gentleman, I think he's sitting up there now, who talked about his biracial son. He came before the committee, the Public Safety Committee. And the more we have people who understand about black lives, and that just like when you look at your kids next door and you say that's the kid next door, when black people look at their kids next door, they say that's the kid next door. And just because I'm tall and black, that doesn't mean I'm a threat to you. And every black person is not a thug, and every young black kid is not a thug, and they do not deserve to be shot down in the middle of the street and left there. Black lives matter. And I want to go on to say that I've been down here when they redistricted me illegally and gerrymandered me, okay? So it's not just about the shooting down, it's the closed-door, all-white meetings that Phyllis Youngest and her group have, okay? It's the thing of trying to not let you have a say if at a public safety meeting. Those are all the things that contribute to this. If we do not learn how to get along in this city and share power and understand that the city of St. Louis is majority black. And so when we sit down here and have 11 black aldermen and 17 white aldermen, it's something wrong with that. That's illegal gerrymandering. That's the same thing that happened out in Ferguson, okay? We're getting ready to address redistricting again on this board. But more important than even redistricting, I didn't think anything could disappoint me than the racism that occurred down here 10 years ago. But to see black children being murdered and people finding a way to say that's okay because they argued with the police or they stole something. I want to know, anybody sitting down here, have you ever stole something? Because I did. When I was 6 years old, I stole something. And my mother took me back to the store, made me pay for it, made me apologize. But what she did not do is kill me, because we have nothing on our laws that say if you steal cigarettes, donuts, or anything else, that the repercussion is for the police to murder you. I used to be the chair of public safety, so that was funny when Phyllis Young tried to keep me from asking questions, because when they illegally gerrymandered me, I was the chair of public safety. And as the chair of public safety, I had a conversation with the then police chief, who was Mokwa. And I've always been opposed to racing through the streets and chasing after something when a car has been stolen. And he said to me, "But Alderwoman, what if they steal your car?" I said, "Let them have it." He said, "What?" I said, "Let them have it. I can get a new car, but if you hit somebody and you hurt somebody, you cannot get a new life, okay? You cannot get another child." I am not a mother. That is one of the biggest mistakes I ever made in my life. I love children. I love little black kids. I love little brown kids. I love little white kids. I love children, okay? And in my family, we also have Korean and Hispanic, so we love them all, okay? We got people who are 3/4 white. We love them, okay? The thing of it is, I don't expect any of them to have watch that their child is laying in the middle of the street and dead. And it's so sad to me when I watched this. And I went to Mr. Brown's funeral. I watched somebody watch their child lay in the street for 4.5 hours. And then I hear police officers say, "I would have done it again." Really? Really? We need to stop the murdering of black children. And please let me say this to white people. I want to give a shout out to all the white people who have been out there protesting. I want to give a shout out to all the brown people who are out there protesting. I want to give a shout out to the Africans over in Africa and Asia and everybody else who gets that this is something important. Shout out. But most of all, I want to give a shout out to young people, because that's the future. The young people are out there carrying on with things that we haven't done. When I got elected in 91, Congressman Bill Clay told me, well, Sharon, you're on the inside now, so you don't have to protest. You can work it from the inside. And I was working it. I worked it so good that they wanted me gone. Whenever white people have white meetings to get rid of you, that's because you're effective, okay? And so I was on the outside for 10 years, and I still worked in my community. But the young people, you're on the outside making us change. I'm so respectful and in awe of you all. Don't listen to these old heads who's sitting here. We've gotten old, and we want to stay in office, and we want to be comfortable, and you make us uncomfortable. I appreciate that you do that. When I came down here, I was a young Turk. So when I see you all, let me just get out your way, and anything I can do to help you, I will pledge to help you, because you rock and you are changing the world, and the world does not have to change from within the Board of Aldermen and things like that, because we're too compromised. We're too busy trying to protect us instead of looking at the greater good. When I came back down here, it was with a mandate from my community to tell all these people who was racist enough to take away their right to vote, because we couldn't vote for 7 years, which is illegal on its face, that they don't get to tell them who represents them. Now, if I would do that to the 16th Ward or the 28th Ward, if we would get together as a group of black people and tear up their community, they would be outraged. But when I got here, people said, oh, that happened 10 years ago. Oh, Sharon, are you still mad about that? Oh, okay. So you don't think that. Let's see when I draw your map if you're going to still be mad about it, okay? When I tear up the 28th Ward, and for sure Phyllis Young has to go. When we redraw the 7th Ward, okay? That's what you got to happen. We got to get rid of people who do not want to share power. The reason that we had Brown v. Board of Education is because white people could not understand Plessy v. Ferguson. Plessy v. Ferguson said separate but equal. Black people would have been fine with that. But no, we had separate and unequal, so we got Brown v. Board of Education. Here at the Board of Aldermen, and still saying we want to be fair, this is unfair. They want to find ways to keep not only my voice down, but all of your voice down. But they cannot keep the world's voice down. So here's the thing. I believe in God, and I don't like to preach. But Michael Brown is somebody that we may not have expected the message to resonate, but it's resonated all over the world. And that's why all over the world, I'll look on the Facebook and you see Africans, you see Indians, the parents have been to the United Nations, because hands up, don't shoot. It's universal, and Black Lives Matter, Brown Lives Matter, White Lives Matter, all lives matter is also universal. And I support you as you protest, and thank you so much for doing that.
Hands up! Don't shoot! Hands up! Don't shoot! Hands up! Don't shoot!
Alderman from 19.
Mr. President, members of the board, I'm standing here for my son. You don't know. You don't understand. You really don't understand. My nephews and my sons have been through so much, but I still support police because I gotta have protection. And so I don't want people to be me, them, us. We have got to come together. We have got to have a better system. We have got to have new ways of policing, because this child right here, he ain't gonna never do nothing wrong. None of them going to ever do anything wrong because they were raised right. And for those who don't get the right guidance, we got to embrace them. We got to get them mentors. We got to get them educated. That's what I do with my whole life. But you all don't understand. Stop this nasty rhetoric going back and forth. That's not helping anything. And you know I support the police. You know I want to see more blacks with careers. You know I want you to have better pay. You know this. But I cannot say to you enough that we can't continue down this path. Has nothing to do, and for me, I can't even get into Darren Wilson and all of that, because the bottom line is it must change. It must change all over the world. But you know what we got power of is this city right here. And we have got to come together and make it better. We've got to. My children don't even come to visit me in St. Louis. I got to go somewhere else. This is the first time they've been here in I don't know how many years. And do you know what happened? They've already dealt with 2 incidents, and they were only, the one, he cut his trip short. He went back home. He was like, I can't do this. I can't do it. That's why I don't come here. So you've got to understand it has to change. And we're not saying everybody's bad, but we know something is bad. And we know we got to change the way it's happening. And so at the end of the day, if you start writing nasty things about me, you go right ahead, because I'm going to still do my job. I'm going to still be respectful and all of that. But the bottom line is we got to work together and change this. And nobody's going to work harder than I will, because you know I stay up all day and all night working on something. So don't ever think that we are not trying to do the right thing here. It's not about get rid of the police. It's not about the police are also horrible. You got some systemic problems, and we've got to change them. And we got to make sure the future is better. It has got to be better. I don't want to have to get on a plane and go meet my children somewhere. I don't want to have to do that all the time. It's just too much of a serious issue for us to be arguing with each other. And anybody who thinks that you have carte blanche because we have allowed you to carry a gun, think twice. Because remember, this is a legislative body. There's a legislative body in Jefferson City, and even at the top, if they're not listening right, it's people going to make you listen. On the federal level, people are going to make us listen. So we might as well come together and act right now. And I have to just give an amen to my fearless leader, Alderman Terry Kennedy. Because you see, he never gives up. Where is he at? He never gives up. And I always got his back, but he never gives up. The Civilian Review Board is important too. So you got to do it, you got to do it. And I'm telling you, when your heart is heavy for your child, you can't see right. You can't think right. You can't breathe right. So understand why I'm standing here. Get it right. That's all I want to ask us to do. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Hold on for the fifth.
I'll just be perfectly honest about what this experience has been for me. I come from a perspective that, you know, I'm young, I'm black, I'm elected, and we have a generation of young people that are expecting us to do something. It's sad that we are divided, and it's sad that sometimes even down here everything is met with resistance from different factions, and I actually pray about it, and I hope that we can move forward as a city. I mean, we have some young leadership down here, and the old guard is going to eventually leave, and I think it's incumbent upon us to, you know, have some candid conversations about our past, try to right some wrongs. We can't move forward when race is the boogeyman in the room. We have to talk about it. We just can't, you know, do anything to better us as a body, us as a city, if we sit back and sit on our hands about what took place. We still have issues down here regarding what our role is with local control. We have people that don't want to relinquish power, and we have it. It's just a sad day, and I just hope that we all can move forward and, you know, be together. No one is born a racist. I mean, these are ideas that are taught. I mean, we're talking about a race of people who were oppressed for 440 years. We have to overcome and just be better as a city. This issue it's one that's hard for me. I have a black son. He's 11. I shouldn't have to teach him how to interact with the police. But these are harsh realities that we have to deal with within our community. when you look at the demographics of our board, yeah, we're the minority, but I feel comfortable talking to my neighbor, talking to Phyllis, talking to Sharon, talking to Chris, and knowing that deep down inside we all have the same mission. We just got to work hard and get it done because people elected us. You know, when I say I'm free. I'm indebted to no one but the constituents of the 5th Ward. We have to work together to do what we're supposed to do. People elected us to do the job we're down here doing. So I just hope that even as a body, because we have some inner turmoil amongst us, let's just move forward and just reshape our city. And we're in crisis right now. Let's just get us to where we need to be. That's it.
All right, thank you. We need to, you know, growing up, go ahead, Alderman, please.
I rise this morning to thank my colleagues for their comments. And I think that we can do better. And I personally pledge to do better. I rise because I don't want this to be seen as just a black issue. So, thank you.
Thank you all. You say, give me 1 second. You know, in the Bible, you know, I grew up grandson of a minister, and they always teach us to revert back to the Word when we are faced with times like we are right now. And in the Bible it says, can anything good come out of Nazareth? Can anything good come out of Nazareth? And I think, city of St. Louis, we asked ourselves that same question today. Because the way we look, the way we have been, you know, shaped, and the way we've been presented to the nation is a city and a region that nothing good can come out of. But I think that we're going to come together and we're going to show this nation that, yes, indeed, something good can come out of Nazareth. Because these young kids are motivated. And we're going to come together and we're going to be a greater city. Because our strength as a nation isn't our division. Our strength as a nation comes from us coming together. Our diversity is our strength, and when we fully embrace it is when we really grow into our own. So we're moving toward that point. I know these are very depressing times for some, and it's tough times that we're going through, but I'm telling you, we need it at this point in time because I'm a father of 4 young kids, 4 biracial kids, and I want to be able to have a world that we turn over that's better than what we received it. And we have an opportunity to turn it over that way. And we're going to do it as a city and a region. And we're going to lead this nation. Make no mistake about it. It was not a mistake that this is the ground that this thing began to grow out of, and we're going to lead this nation. We're leading a discussion, and we're going to show this nation how we come together and how we are one people here in the city of St. Louis. Can anything good come out of Nazareth? And the answer is yes. Can any good come out of St. Louis? And the answer is yes, because we're going to be one city. We're going to stand together. And nobody can tell me that ain't going to happen. Alderman from the 4th.
Mr. President, members of the board, this is Mike Brown, a type of Mike Brown. This is genocide. This is where we have been destroyed over 50 years of disparity. We've been shot in the back with our hands up in the 4th Ward. And this is why I'm here today to talk about the disparity and the Michael Brownism of my community that has been shot down, living like this in a 3rd world community. This is what happened. This is what breeds Mike Brown, a subculture that you let get away, and now this is what we have. And we are in the 4th Ward begging and pleading with everybody. Our hands have been up. We have been shot in the back with disparity. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Alderman from the 20th.
Mr.
Mr. President, I did not know we were going to be on this topic this morning. As you probably remember, and I don't have it with me, I had asked you, I think it was a couple weeks ago, for an opportunity for prayer. And part of that prayer was going to be a prayer for peace, and it was going to...
Alderman from the 20th, do you have the prayer with you?
I do not.
Okay, do you remember? If you do...
No, but what I wanted to basically say is that, all of us, whether it happens to be the Latino shopkeeper up the street from me, or the African American shopkeeper, or the neighbor next to me, or, whether it's Michael Brown, Bondurant Myers, Kajemi Powell, Eric Garner, Darren Wilson, or any of us, God does not listen to only one person, one religion, one culture, one belief system. He doesn't just, or she doesn't just listen to Democrats or Republicans. So all of our prayers are going forward. Some people believe in prayer, some people do not. But whoever this person is above is not just paying attention to us based on what we see superficially. So part of what I wanted to do was to applaud, obviously, people who've been in the trenches, and I know all of us here on this floor, and all of us can do better, but all of us have been in those trenches, and how important it is. We were lauding Bill Seedoff today. It begins working with youth so that they can see the hopes and the opportunities, and that they can see how we interact with each other. Sometimes in the heat of the moment, and this is part of democracy, I think sometimes we forget, and then our children have to remind us that we're the adults and show us the way, and in a large part that's what they're doing today. I will just say this part of the prayer, which is make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow your love. Where there's injury, pardon. Where there's darkness, light. Where there's sadness, joy. Grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoning. It is in dying to ourselves as we are today, that we are born to eternal life. So my greatest hope, and I know we all share this, is that, yes, we remember all that is occurring and we continue to fight what is unequal and inequitable. But at some point, as we are doing today, we have to come together and we have to build and have that person and persons coming out of Nazareth, as you put it, Mr. President. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Alderman from the 17th, you recognize on the motion to excuse. Oh, you have some? Alderman from the 18th. Good.
I'll bend over. Mr. President, members of the board, when we first entertained the notion of civilian review in 2006 or so, I mentioned in the testimony then that St. Louis was a powder keg and that St. Louis was on the verge of being ignited. I said that back then. I don't stand here to say I told you so, but I mentioned it back then. It is going to be difficult to talk about peace when there is not justice. So it is going to be difficult to see the things that we're seeing happening today, to calm down until we deal with the underlying issues of disparity and disenfranchisement, all growing out of an ideology, or better yet, all growing out of a sickness that we have given too much credibility. We have raised racism as if it is a legitimate ideology as opposed to seeing it as a psychosis. We have given it too much legitimacy. We need to recognize that it and the systemic things that come from it need to be changed, but that it is a sickness. that is a sickness that needs to be healed and not a legitimate political ideology. And until we're really ready to deal with that underlying issue, it's going to be difficult to talk about having peace and having calm in the streets. What is there to be calm about? In fact, we know change has never happened without agitation. Frederick Douglass says, agitate. And so what we're seeing is that agitation. Do we wish to see that? Do we wish to see it in the manner that it is happening? Unfortunately, this is the way it is coming, because we have not had the opportunity to fully address the underlying issues that are causing this to happen. Well, the introduction of a simple bill that we have, a civilian review today, helps us to get at some of that. It's simply an attempt to do something to make it better. And the individuals that we see in this balcony have made a commitment to work in that direction. And what I am hearing here in this Board of Aldermen today is far more encouraging than what I used to hear when I came back here in 1989. This has become a different board. And it feels as if it is ready in 2014 to address these underlying issues and is not afraid to take them on head on. I do appreciate that, and I'm encouraged by it. I look forward to us having a further discussion and to really do what this body can do legislatively to make St. Louis to be a beacon of equality and equity and parity and justice for the world to follow. Thank you.
Very well put, Alderman from the 18th, as usual. Alderman from the 17th, you're recognized on the motion to excuse.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm glad you caught the Alderman from the 18th. He certainly has worked very long and hard on this issue, and I'm glad you had your couple moments this morning to be recognized for it. Mr. President, I move that we excuse the Alder people from the 2nd, 14th, 21st, and 24th wards.
It's been moved by Alderman from the 17th, seconded by Alderman from the 22nd. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Alderman from the 17th, you're recognized on the motion to adjourn. But before you do that, there's been a request for any aldermen that want to take a photo over here with the signs Black Lives Matter. Please join us up here at the dais. Alderman from the 17th, please proceed.
Yes, Mr. President, I move that we adjourn until next Friday, the 12th. December the 12th.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 17th and entertain a second on that motion. Seconded by the Alderman from the 18th. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Stand adjourned.